Welcome back to another one of my videos. As always, I find these stories that I read to you from different subreddits on the Reddit website. And I always leave a link in the description. So that way, instead of watching gameplay through the video, you can read along if you would like to. That said, let's get into the video. The Man with the Top Hat. When I was 10, I used to live with my parents in my grandmother's house in the middle of nowhere, but on the Navajo Reservation on Arizona. The place I used to live in was my graduation grandmother's land on a base of a mountain and mesas. There was a lot of creepy shit that has always happened in that part of the reservation, especially on that land. One night, my parents, brother, and I were getting ready for bed because it was 10 p.m. at night. When it was 10:15-ish, I had fallen asleep after doing the nightly routine, but the creatures outside had their routine of terrorizing my family on the land at night when they're in bed or getting ready for bed. It was around 2 a.m. when I woke up after a nightmare I had about my family and a creature hunting us down one by one. I remembered staring at the ceiling due to being half asleep, but this one event had scared the living hell out of me because I never had sleep paralysis or no movement after waking up. It happened to me before. After a while of not being able to move, when I was able to, I looked over to the doorway which looked out in the living room. What I saw is something that I would never be able to explain due to never seeing it before. I was used to the routine rules of what happens at night, which this wasn't part of any of the rules. What I had seen that night was a tall figure, slim, and had long arms and legs. What I noticed about it wasn't looking... It wasn't the long fingers it had. It was the hat it was wearing. It looked like as if it was from the time when men used to wear top hats back in somewhere in the 1890s or 1900s. The figure had been standing over my sleeping father for God knows how long. When it noticed I wasn't asleep, the thing had turned its attention towards me. When I blinked, it wasn't in the living room. When I was looking for it in the dark, since my eyes had gotten used to the dark, I didn't see it anywhere until I looked at the door that was supposed to be closed to my grandma's room. When I saw a man there, I quickly covered myself with a monster-high blanket that I had, and had my whole body from head to toe wrapped in the blanket due to fear of it, what it would do. I never noticed, but I had fallen asleep by doing that and was waken up by my father in the morning telling me to get up and chop wood. Now, there are some new rules added to our routine for what to do if the man with the top hat shows up. Don't look at him or he will get mad. If you saw him, you didn't. Ignore his presence as if he was never there. Don't give him attention. And last but not least, don't call his name. I think I'm done with tarot cards. This morning I wanted to give myself a reading with a deck of tarot cards I've had for a few years. I cleansed my room, myself, and the deck with sage before and after the reading. When I did my reading for the 6th card, which is supposed to represent unexpected events, I got the 13 card of death. I finished the reading and then organized my cards and went to go do my workout for the day, weightlifting. I got done one set, so maybe like 20 minutes after my reading, and my mom is screaming for me to call 911. A motorcyclist had crashed and was at the end of our cul-de-sac, barely conscious, and there was something yellow about 10 meters away from him. My dog that I've had for the last 10 years had been cut in half by this guy's bike. What I saw in the middle of the road was the bottom half of his body, and I had to grab his legs and put him on the side of the road with his other half. The motorcyclist was okay, just a little banged up. I went back to my home for a little bit so I could collect myself after the ambulance and police arrived. I had to come back to the end of the neighborhood after the cops left to retrieve his body because they had thrown him in the ditch on the other side of the road, assuming so that no one had to see his mutilated body. I had to pick up my dog's guts and place them in the box before I could even put his body in there. Yes, I had gloves on. The smell and the feeling and the sight of everything was just horrific. His body was cut clean in half and was spread out about 30 meters apart from the other half. The motorcyclist had to have been speeding tremendously. The limit is only 35, but a lot of people speed down this road. And it's narrow country road where I'm from. The sight of my dog's blood pool on the corner of our property and the blood smeared across the road is just sickening and heartbreaking. When I picked up his lower half, I saw that his leg had been scraped to the bone and his guts and organs were spilling out. The blood trail was about 40 meters long and it was all my dog's blood. The cyclist had some scrapes, a road rash. I'm glad the guy is okay, but I hope no one ever has to witness something like this, ever in their lives, and I sure as hell will not be touching those tarot cards anytime soon. The Thing by my house. I'm not going to use real names for privacy reasons. I will use Mike, Jake, and Phil instead. This happened about a little over a month ago. So I live in the middle of nowhere in Colorado near the Utah border. I love to go on walks and enjoy the outdoors. There's a canyon about a 10-minute walk from my house. On recent hikes in the canyon, I have found animal bones and tracks down there. I have been hunting most of my life, so I know what animals we have in our area. It was a few days before my little brother's birthday, so my little brother wants to go camping for his birthday. Sadly, for family reasons, we couldn't, so we decided we would camp in the yard. We go outside to make the tent and get stuff ready for my little brother's friend to come over. After about 20 minutes, we have everything set up and we go to get Jake. After picking up Jake, we went to the store to get some stuff for s'mores. We got back to the house and ate dinner that my aunt made for us. We hung out next to the fire until it got dark. Then we had s'mores and laid down for the night. Mike and Jake were out in minutes, so I went back out to look at the stars. I was out there for about an hour when I heard footsteps on the gravel road that goes in front of my house. Nobody walks this road at this hour, so I thought it could be a deer or something along those lines. I brushed it off, then about 5 seconds later I heard a coyote howl, and then another one, and another. I quietly crawled back to the tent to see Mike and Jake are pale white and looking out the window of the tent. I tried to see what they're looking at. At first I didn't see anything. Then there was some movement just across the street from the telephone pole about 40-ish yards away. It was what I thought to be a coyote. It was hard to tell with it being so dark. The boys were really scared and whispered to me that we should go inside. So we slowly got up and crawled out of the tent. I watched as the things slowly got close to the house. Mike and Jake were going in the door and I was on the porch a few feet away from the door when I seen it cross the road coming into the light. I could see it clearly now. It looked like a coyote that was hit by a car. Its limbs were mangled and was covered in blood. I ran inside and locked the door. The boys were in the kitchen. My aunt and little sister were asleep. Jake and Mike went to bed shortly after that, and I stayed up all night to make sure it didn't try to come in. The next day, I told my uncle what happened, and he told me it was more like a skinwalker. It would make sense since it sounds like the Native American stories I used to hear growing up. If you liked that video, then like the video. If you're going to bed soon, sweet dreams. And if you have a full day ahead of you, I hope it goes well. Thank you for taking your time to spend on watching one of my videos on my channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.